Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmommy.wordpress.com. I just want to thank all of you for stopping by. Tonight we're going to be chatting about making the most of the library in your homeschool. And I don't know if you were here last week. We had a couple of trolls who were leaving some pretty weird comments in the chat. So my 13-year-old daughter is actually going to be here monitoring the chat for me tonight. I had to show her how to delete messages and everything. So what a sad, sad world that we're living in, that you have to have your kid, patrolling the chat for you. But anyway, that's here we are. And, I've noticed that they have been really, really active lately. I had the trolls last week in the chat, and then yesterday morning, I woke up to 26 comments on Instagram posts by 3 different trolls. They were just leaving comment after comment after comment on like all of these pictures that I had posted on Instagram. Most of them, like saying bad things about homeschooling and just being obnoxious in general. So I had to block them. And now today I have I'm suspecting are dummy accounts of more trolls who just keep following me. And I'm just and it's not just me, they're getting after like a bunch of women on Instagram who are vocally conservative. And it is so frustrating that we just cannot, be adults. And who knows, maybe these are kids. You don't even know. But anyway, it's just sad. But I have my daughter here with me. Say hi, London.
Hi.
And she is going to help me out with that. But anyway, so the reason that I decided to talk about the library today is just because, hi Tasha, yeah, happy snow day. It is. We got probably close to 8 inches. So my kids were happily playing outside today, and I was happily in the warm house. I don't like cold weather at all. But anyway, I decided that I was going to talk about the library today just because, I think that a lot of people, when they think about homeschool and the library, yes, of course, the two go together. And a lot of homeschoolers do use the library. But I think that a lot of times we don't realize just how much of a resource the library is. Because, most of the time we think of the library as a place to get books for book reports or to do research or for independent reading or even read alouds. But we don't realize that the library can literally be almost your complete source for your curriculum. You could honestly homeschool pretty much just with the library. So I just wanted to give you some tips on that today. I know that there are a lot of people out there who say that who like me, you don't have like this huge income. My husband's a welder, we have 11 kids. So we don't have this, limitless income to spend on homeschooling. So the library has been huge for us. So I'm hoping that this can help you with some frugal homeschooling tips as well. And also, I always look forward to seeing what you have to say in the chat, because I would love any tips that you have about the library that I might not have brought up. So now, obviously, the very first thing that you're going to think of with the library is books. But, look beyond just book reports and silent reading and read alouds. And think about how you could possibly replace all of those textbooks with library books. And textbooks are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And especially if you have more than one child, that's really, really expensive. But you can learn, or your kids can learn in such a more lively way from the library, and they can cover everything that is in those textbooks. Because if you think about it, where do you think those textbook authors get a lot of their information? They get a lot of their information from books like that which you find at the library. But the difference is that in those textbooks, the authors, they kind of have to condense everything into little snippets, because they have a huge amount of information that they have to keep in a really limited space. So a lot of times they end up cutting out like the best part of the information. And that is what the library is great for. So instead of just having your kids learn little snippets of information on certain topics, they can actually, really delve deeply into things and get the entire big picture, and not just, what the textbook author wants them to see. And of course, those library books, they're all written from a certain perspective. But when you have library books that are on one topic rather than on 50 topics. You know that you're going to get so much more information, and it's going to just be so much more oh my gosh, I can't even think. Do you know that I do that every week? I swear sometimes that I think that I have ADD because my mind just goes like, anyway, interesting. That was it. I was saying interesting. It is so much more interesting for kids seeing the information that come in books like that, if you really think about it. Because even as adults, you know, would we honestly want to read textbooks for fun? Although I do have to make a disclaimer. I did used to read Apology of Biology, the section on creationism versus evolution, just for fun, because Apology of Biology was honestly written in a really, really interesting way. And I know that a lot of Charlotte Mason homeschoolers, which Charlotte Mason is completely like living books centered, but a lot of Charlotte Mason homeschoolers do use Apologia because they are considered to be living books. Because even though they are textbooks, they are written normally by one author. I believe it was Dr. J. Weil who wrote Apology of Biology. But, you know, they're people who have a genuine love for that subject. So they are just written in a much more interesting way for kids. So I just want you to think about that. And I've talked about that so many times before about, you know, just replacing what would be in a textbook. Even you could even go online rather than buying a textbook just to see their table of contents. You could even go online, and a lot of them will have their table of contents listed online. You could see the sorts of things that would be covered in that textbook, and instead of having your child use that, you can go to the library and just get a bunch of books on the topics that would be in that textbook anyway, so you don't really have to worry about missing anything, which as a seasoned homeschooler, I have to tell you, there's no way you're going to cover everything. No one covers everything because there's just too much information on everything out there. So rest assured that, you know, people always worry about learning gaps. And I'm going to tell you that everyone has learning gaps at different places because information is just endless. It's constantly coming. Information is constantly being created all the time. So, you know, as long as you give your kids the ability to know how to look up information, you know, you've got it. So yeah, definitely teach your kids how to find those books at the library, especially. You know, my kids, as soon as we go to the library, they will head right for that computer to start looking up books that they want. So that is something that is crucial for you to help your kids, to just help them to know how to research, how to find the information that they want. And I say this all the time, but it is so, so important. Let me just see what some of you have here today. Hi, Stacy. And Tachi said, yes, I also believe that you can homeschool virtually for free using the library, plus the world around you. Absolutely. Life schooling. One clever girl. Hi, everyone. Lexi Blake said, when are you going to write a book? I would buy it. I have so many ideas for books. I have a whole list of them. And my problem is just time, finding the time to do it. Because at this point, you know, you notice that I do my live streams at 10 o'clock at night. And when I record my videos, I do those around 9 o'clock at night after the kids have gone to bed. And even like my blog posts, I write those at night because my days are completely filled up with like doing mom things, doing wife things, you know, just like running around all the time. So the only time that I actually have to concentrate on that is at night. And at this season of my life, I am just so exhausted normally by this time that I have not been able to do it. But I do plan on doing it, Lexi, and thank you. I'm glad that you would buy it. So I do plan on doing that at some point. Thank you, guys. Dahlia's Roses and Tachi. Yes, I do. I want to write a book. I really do. And I actually, a couple years ago, I did start writing a book. I had a MacBook, and I had written pretty much, and then my son accidentally dumped my coffee on the keyboard of my MacBook, and it just like blew up. It just completely stopped working. And my husband, like he had a PC, and we weren't able to like transfer the files from the MacBook to my husband's computer, so I lost like most of that information. I was so sad, but yeah, I will get started on that again. Yes, that really happened. So anyway, so getting back to the library now, you know, audiobooks are also a really great thing for kids who maybe are not at the point where they can read on their own yet, or some kids are they just really enjoy listening to audiobooks. And a lot of parents actually like to use audiobooks in place of read alouds, because as much as, some of us like to read aloud to our kids, not every parent does, and that is totally fine. Everyone is different, and I say this all the time. So a lot of times for kids who really do want to be read to, but mom might not have the time, she might not be feeling well, or she just might not want to do it at all, audiobooks are a great way to do that. And a lot of audiobooks actually come with the books that accompany them, so that kids who are learning how to read can actually follow along and are listening to it in the meantime. So I found that that's a really big help for kids who enjoy to listen to things like that. So, and then besides that, right in the audio section, of course, there are DVDs. Just think about just the movies, the documentaries that you can get to supplement your library books that you're using with your kids. So you've got all of these books that your kids are learning from, and they might be notebooking with them. They might just be reading them. You might be coming up with activities, hands-on activities. Pinterest is a great place to find activities like that. But DVDs and documentaries, well, a lot of the documentaries are on DVDs. I should say movies and documentaries are a great way to supplement that learning that you are using with those library books. For example, if you're reading a read aloud that has a movie to go with it, like I love the book A Wrinkle in Time, and there's a movie A Wrinkle in Time. So you could decide to get the movie at the library and do that maybe when you're finished with the book. Or other times it might be a specific topic that your kids are learning about, like the Civil War, and you might be able to find either a movie or a documentary at the library on the Civil War. Now, I don't know how big the library is where you live. Our library, I would say it's moderate sized. It's not huge, but it's definitely big enough. We're in a medium-sized city that we do have a very big selection. So, and I think that a lot of kids really enjoy that break from the book learning to just sit down, pop some popcorn, drink some hot chocolate on cold days like this if you're in the Northeast like I am, and just enjoy that time, still learning, but just doing it in a different way. So anyway, London, could you go get me a water, please? Thank you. Besides the movies and the documentaries, if you actually check out your library website, I'm assuming that most libraries probably have websites nowadays, even the tiny rinky-dink library, where we lived in a small town several years ago, and the library, I always used to say it was the size of my living room, and it was definitely bigger than that, but it was tiny. But even that had a website. So I'm sure that most libraries do have websites now, and check them out. Just see what sorts of resources they are offering for free. My kids and we learned Japanese on our library's website. Thank you. For free. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, she used it for Swedish and for Russian. And then, let's see, my other daughter, my second oldest daughter, she used it for Italian, and my 14-year-old is using it for Spanish. And it varies. Our library at first they were Mango languages, and then they switched to Duolingo, which was kind of a pain because I don't like change. When we get used to doing things a certain way and seeing things in a certain format, I like that continuity. So it was kind of a pain when they changed, but it was free, so it's not like I could complain about it. But yeah, just see what sorts of resources they have to offer for you there. Besides that, there are children's programs at a lot of libraries. Even, as I said earlier, that rinky-dink library that we belong to, they actually, I think, had better children's programs than our bigger library does now. Do you remember, London? The one time they actually brought in like birds of prey, and they had all kinds of birds and everything in that library. But yes, definitely check out your children's programs. A lot of times they will have, like little Lego get-togethers for kids. They will have craft nights, of course, story hours. Some of them have activities specifically targeted at homeschoolers. Others do not, but no matter what, it doesn't really matter. Just take advantage of whatever they have to offer your kids. the library here now, they actually, a few years ago, we went to, it was called the Jingle Bell Ball. And it was like a little dance for at Christmas time. And you know, that's just a great way for your kids to get together with other kids and to see, you know, just to meet other people. There's that socialization that everyone's always looking for. And you know, they really do. My cat's here. Bella, shh. So teen programs too. There are a lot of teen programs at these libraries too, and we can't forget about that. I think a lot of times when we think of the library, we kind of think of just things oriented to younger children, but you know, there are things for teens too. There are teen book discussions. I know that they have teen art clubs. There at our library, there was like teen anime, teen manga. So all of these things, all of these clubs could even be covering different areas, different subject areas that you need to do as required by law. You know, they could be covering art. They could be covering science. Our library used to have every Monday night, they had like a science lab. And we would go to it and they would do some sort of a lesson and then an experiment. And okay, another disclaimer here. We actually stopped going to that after a few weeks because they just made it way too schoolish for us. We're so far beyond that anymore. Like once they start like writing on the board and like kind of reading things as if it's out of a textbook, we're all just like, yeah, we don't want to do this. But yeah, but if your kids don't mind that sort of thing, definitely you can look into that, and maybe your library presents things like that in a different way. But always, you know, just keep track. And again, those activities would be listed on your library website for the most part, I'm assuming. And anyway, let me just see what some of you are having to say right now. Lexi Blake said, can you explain more about copywork? I've heard you speak of it, but I wouldn't know how to start. Copywork is basically where you get some sort of a book. Like my kids use Shel Silverstein, or some people use Bible verses, some people use William Shakespeare, some people use nursery rhymes, anything. And what it is that you actually just have your child copy a sentence or a passage. Now you could have depending on your child's age, you could have them copy it right out of the book, or you could write it, say, at the top of a page, and then underneath it, you could have your child write it exactly as you do. And when they are writing this work, they have to do it exactly as it is written. If there is a capital letter, they have to use a capital. If there is a comma, they have to put a comma. If there is a period, they have to put a period. If it indents, they have to indent. And the point of copywork is to help kids to learn spelling, to learn writing mechanics, to learn proper grammar and proper sentence structure by seeing it modeled in these passages. And there's actually a website called classicalcopywork.com, I think it's called, and they actually will send out free copywork each week, which is good depending on how old your kids are. They have those are nice. I used to use them for my younger kids because they would have it was usually a Bible verse at the top of the page, and then at the bottom there would be lines for a child to then copy it underneath, and you could get it either in printing or in cursive, I believe. So that's basically what copywork is. I do have a video on copywork. So maybe if you search that on my channel, you should be able to find that. If I think of it, I'll link it in the description box later on tonight after I'm done here. So hopefully that helped you a little bit. Tachi said, my kids didn't go to preschool, but we were at the library every week for story time, puppet shows, playtime at the Discovery Room, etc. Yeah, there are so many great things for kids to do at the library. And some libraries I've heard even have like musical instruments for kids to use, which ours does not do that. I wish they would, but they like musical instruments, art supplies for kids to use. Now, I'm assuming that they probably have to use them there at the facility, but even so, that would be really, really nice to have that. Our library did used to have puzzles and toys and games that you could actually check out. They stopped doing that. I'm guessing that maybe people weren't returning them. I don't know. But really check those things out too, because all of the things that your library has could definitely be something that you would use towards a curriculum that you don't have to pay for. You know, what better curriculum is there? You know, is to, as was it Tachi that said earlier, to just incorporate life into your homeschool. Have your homeschool surround your life and supplement that with the sorts of things that you find at the library. Now, I do have to say that for the most part, you will probably have to find something for math. A lot of libraries do have math resources. Some of them have the Life of Fred curriculum, which is nice. Ours, again, does not. But I know that some of them do. But math might be the only thing that you really might have to invest money in, unless you're planning to do something like Khan Academy, which is also free. And I have to point out that although most people have the internet, there are also computers at most libraries too for kids to use. And so they could even do like the Khan Academy there. So you just really, frugal homeschooling is really about learning how to find things. You have to be like a treasure hunter, just learning how to find all of this stuff. Kelly Vega said, what do you do about a child that won't pick up anything on his own, interest-led? If I don't assign things to him, he will literally just sit around or ask to play his video game. Well, I'm curious, Kelly, how long you've been homeschooling for. If he, like, you said it's your son, correct? Yeah. If he just started to become homeschooling, a lot of kids actually need to go through a period where they get used to not being told what to do all the time, not being assigned things all the time. And that's the whole deschooling period where they literally will find themselves. They literally have to relearn how to entertain themselves, because kids, up to school age, if you think of younger children, yeah, they're very curious. They're always getting into things all the time. And you never have to show like a 3 or a 4-year-old something to do, that they will find something to do. And a lot of times that kind of starts disappearing once the kids are in school, because they're there all day and they're being handed these assignments, being told this is what's important for you to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to spend your time doing. And they kind of forget how to entertain themselves. So I don't know if your son just started homeschooling, but that could possibly be it. Or if you are moving, it could even happen sometimes if you're moving from a very structured homeschool to, a more relaxed homeschool. Oh, 18 years. Okay, you're definitely not new to it then. The first one like this. Well, you know what? All kids are different. And actually, my 14-year-old, she kept coming up to me yesterday, and she told me that she was bored like 3 times. And I said to her, well, I have plenty of stuff that you can do. So then, of course, she walked away and she found her own things to do. And sometimes you just have to let your kids be bored. But I think that one thing that really helps with us is that we do have tech limits. Now, I don't know if you do, but we do not let our kids go on they mainly have, I think they all have phones now. Some of them used to have tablets, but I think they all have phones. They don't have phones that they can like call people on. They just kind of have those cheap prepaid phones that they can pick up the Wi-Fi when they're in our house. They don't have access to those anytime that they want. They're only allowed to use those phones on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday after they are done with their schoolwork, Saturday, and then Sunday after church. Because, yeah, if I would let my kids go on those phones all the time, I'm sure they would be spending a lot of time, because those phones, they can be addictive. And I've been reading so many articles on that, about how these phones and these apps, they actually release endorphins, and they make you want to keep going back and keep going back. Like you really start to depend on those likes and those smiley faces and those hearts, and seeing if people are sharing the things that you're posting and everything. And it just becomes this vicious cycle. So yeah, I do have limits for my kids. I saw that you just answered. You said yes to limits, then he'll just sit, drives me crazy. Yeah, I think I've had kids who do that. I think that another thing that I do try to do is I try to keep my house. It's not always like this, because again, we're on a limited income. So it's not like every time that we run out of supplies, I can just run out and stock back up again. We can do this like a certain number of times a year. And when I do, I try to get as many things as possible. But I do try to keep as many materials in the house as, that will keep them from getting bored all the time. But again, kids are definitely, hi, Karasu the Dreamer. Kids are definitely going to get bored at times. Definitely. But again, if my kids would be sitting here like telling me constantly that they're bored, I would probably say something to them. Well, you know, that upstairs bathroom could really use a good cleaning or something to that effect, because sometimes they just have to learn how to get out of that slump themselves. So, and I know that's a tough one. Oh, let me see. Tachi Mitchell said there's also MEP math. It's free too, and I know a lot of Charlotte Mason moms use it and love it. I've never heard of that. Is that like, I'm assuming MEP is an abbreviation for something. Do you know what that's an abbreviation for? Because I never heard anything called MEP math, but I'm wondering if you like say the entire name of it, if you know it, if I would have heard of it. Let's see. Stacy Hancock said, we used My Father's World and loved it, but now my 5th grader said, Mom, you can make your own. So this year we did and saved so much and used the library a lot. Yes, and isn't it fun? It's just fun to have something, yeah, that you truly can call your own, and it's something that is truly tailored to how you like to do things and how your child likes to do things. And I think that it's just a great way to even show your kids how to take the initiative to do things like that, and not to always, depend on things that are pre-made. Although I have to admit that a lot of times I use things that are pre-made. I have always said I have not used CONUS for several months now. Actually, yeah, I did. I used it with my younger kids earlier, but usually CONUS is like my go-to unit study curriculum. And most of the year this year, I was doing a Scotland unit study with my middles, and then Beautiful Feet books with my littles. But now we are all working on, well, actually we just finished the Little House Christmas Treasury unit study that I did write that one. And we had so much fun with that. We just finished that on Tuesday. So this is our last week before our break. This is our Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's break. So tomorrow is our last day, and then we're going to be off until after New Year's, and I'm so looking forward to that. Now, 2 weeks down the line, I might be saying something different, because we need that structure. We need that structure that school brings. But yeah, I am looking forward to just kind of having some downtime. Anyway, so, and even tomorrow, I'm only going to actually be doing school with, I think, 4 of my kids, because my 4 older kids are going to Fall Fest with our church tomorrow night. That counts as a field trip. So it's just my younger kids who are going to be doing school tomorrow. And actually, some of them already did some of tomorrow's work. So I think it's going to be an easy day tomorrow. Let me see. Harris the Dreamer said, I'm an adult and need limits myself. That's true. I do too, because I find myself looking at my phone way too much. And that's actually, I was talking about that in my video that I just posted this morning. It's hard. It is hard to just get yourself away from it. And again, it's that whole addictive thing, that whole endorphin releasing thing. It's bad. And sometimes I have to tell myself, okay, I'm putting my phone down and I will not pick it back up again until we are on lunch break. And it's like, it's hard. You just feel yourself being pulled. And so if it's hard for us adults, imagine how it is for kids. That's why I really, again, think it's so important that you just give your kids those limits, because giving your kids those limits in technology gives them freedom in so many other areas of their life. Freedom to do other things that are not about watching other people entertain them, but letting them entertain themselves. And I think that's so important, that not just kids, but that we adults can do as well. Let's see. Allie's Bookish Life said, if my kid had it his way, we would go to the library every day. I would too. I always said that if our library would ever get like a Starbucks and maybe like a snack bar or something, I could totally live there. I'm so happy in the library, because first of all, there's just books everywhere. They're like my favorite thing in the world, to be filled with books or surrounded by books, and then peace and quiet. I don't get much of that here. I'm sure you can imagine. So yeah, going to the library is something that I wish I could do way more often than I do. Right now, it's usually like once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Okay, Allie's Bookish Life said, do you have any videos on making your own unit studies? I do. I think it's actually called something like How to Write Your Own Unit Studies. So I will try to link that in the description box after this video as well. I'm hoping that I'm going to remember this. And of course, I don't have a pen to write this down. So I need to write down about copywork and writing unit studies. So yeah, my son, I can hear him. He's trying to get me a pen now. They're so helpful. Let me see. Karasu the Dreamer said, the library in my hometown is very nice. There's a whole room area for teenagers to hang out at the main library, and they're adding one at one of the branches. That must be wonderful. Our library, like, they only have one branch anymore. We used to have a really nice branch on our side of town, so they did away with that branch. We only have one now, and they don't really have that. Like, they have tables that is like right next to the children's section for like the teenagers and everything, but it's not really something that's completely set aside for them. I think that a lot of teenagers would like that. Okay. Tachi Mitchell said, MEP is Mathematics Enhancement Program, definitely not very well known. I only learned about it recently, but it seems a lot of Charlotte Mason homeschoolers love how rigorous and well done it is. I'll have to look into that. All right. So, anyway, I think that I got caught up on the comments, so I am just going to take a sip of my water because my throat is hurting me a little bit today, and I just dumped water on my leg. Sorry. Okay. So, now I had been talking about like the children's programs and the teen programs and everything, but there are also free classes at a lot of libraries too. Now, a lot of these classes are geared towards adults, but I know that I myself have asked the librarians if my kids could go to these classes that are more for adults, and they've said as long as your kids behave, you know, they're fine with it. So a lot of these libraries, they have gardening classes and cooking classes. One of them had a class on book publishing. There are computer classes. Let me think. There are photography classes. And, you know, the list just goes on and on and on and on. So that is another great resource, especially if it's something that you yourself are not really good at doing that your kids are interested in. Like, I'm hoping that at some point our library gets another gardening class in because we didn't get to do that one. But, you know, I have like a brown thumb. I guess you would call it a brown thumb. I don't have a green thumb. I'm terrible at gardening. So that really would have been something helpful for us. So I'm hoping to do that sometime with them. But look into those classes. They can definitely help you in areas that you yourself are not comfortable with doing. And it's nice for your kids to get out of that house, and to get in an environment of learning in a different way that you do at home. Let me see. And of course, there's also the volunteer opportunities that kids can have at the library. And you know, that looks good on college applications if your kids are planning on going to college. Of course, the colleges are looking for things like volunteer work. The library is a great place to do that. The one piece of advice that I do have to give about volunteering at the library is that you should make sure, now, teenager for the most part. At our library, I think they have to be at least 16. But if you are going to ask about volunteer opportunities at the library, I think it's important that your teenager would let them know that they can come in at any time to volunteer. Because I think that a lot of libraries assume that you mean after school hours, because even though most of them will know that you homeschool if you're there often enough, they still kind of look at it as homeschoolers are doing the same hours as public school students or even private school students. So what happened when my daughter asked about volunteering was they said to her, well, we have to give the volunteer hours to the public school students because they need this for their graduation requirements. They need to have this volunteer time in. And so I said to my daughter, you should have told them that you can come in at any time. You know, it's not just after school hours. So that is really important. Let them know that your kids, or if your kids talk to them, they're available anytime, you know, as long as that's okay with you. They are available anytime to go in and volunteer. And it's not just during those after school hours. Let me see. One clever girl said, one here offers chess club. Yep, and also Lego club. Yeah, there's a Lego club at our library too. Karasu the Dreamer said, one thought I had when it comes to literature is to let the kids choose a book, within reason, of course, and look up questions and activities online. That is a great idea. Look at that. You are going to be an awesome homeschooler. Oh, and you live in a college town, so you have a lot more resources. Yeah, that must be nice. Oh, I'm glad you're here, though, Corey. Better late than never. That's fine. London. My troll watcher is no longer watching. She's sitting back. What are you doing, reading?
Yeah.
Okay, you're supposed to be watching my chat. We've been lucky tonight, but knowing my luck, as soon as like I look away and she's not watching, we're going to have people on here saying all kinds of goofy things again. So anyway, so what now it's your turn to talk to me. What is your favorite thing about the library? I know that some of you have been talking about what your libraries offer, but what like different things do your libraries have? Because I'm one that I would love to go to our library and just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, do you see what I'm talking about? I all of a sudden, all the time, just like completely lose my train of thought. Anyway, but just like mention to them different things that they could be doing in our library, because I would love to offer or to ask them if they would offer like the musical instruments or the art supplies and everything. Now, I'm not sure because our library, I don't know if it's like this all around the country. I've never actually looked into it, but our library is funded with school taxes, and we don't live like in a really wealthy district. So I don't know, they might not have the funding to do things like that, but I would love if they do that. But one thing, I do have to say, one thing that I was not happy with at my library was that, because I was telling you, they have all of these classes like photography and cooking and everything. So I actually went up to them and I offered to do a free homeschooling 101 class on one Wednesday night for them. And they actually wanted me to pay for the room in order to do that. And I know they don't do that with the other classes. The other classes, they kind of are just looking at it as doing something nice for the community. But I don't know if it's because of those school taxes or what, but when I offered to do a free homeschooling 101 class, they just gave me a price for how much I would have to pay for the room. I was just like, forget it. This is just like a community service. And yeah, so I wasn't too happy about that one. But anyway, and I heard that a library in a neighboring district did not do that. They like welcomed someone who wanted to do it. So that was one thing that I was a little upset about. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if they ever get new people there. Let me see what you guys have. Okay, Tachi Mitchell, we are going on a behind-the-scenes tour at our library in a couple of weeks. That should be fun. I would love if my kids could do that sometime. Kristen said, I almost missed the whole live stream. Had to watch The Grinch for the 9 millionth time. The movie or the cartoon? We had the movie on the other day. I don't like the movie as much. I like the cartoon better. Let's see. Your library has an anime club. So does ours. It's like an anime/manga club that they have. It's kind of together. Lexi Blake. Do you have a preference between online or physical book? I have a relative that always likes to read on their phone. I think there's something special about actually holding a book in my hands. Yes. And maybe it's just because I'm old-fashioned, but I do like to have that physical book in my hands. There's just something about it. Being able to just turn the pages, and if you own the book, you can maybe highlight something that you really like. Or, yeah, sometimes I will turn the page down if I can't find something to put it in. I usually turn the page down, and that drives my 19-year-old crazy. But, yeah, it's just something about having that in your hand. And, again, I don't know, having that light in their eyes all the time from the screen. I wouldn't want that for my kids. So I'm hoping that, at least in my lifetime, we never come to a point where they completely do away with physical books, because I will be devastated if they do that. I definitely prefer them. Allie's Bookish Life said, our library had the circus come in the other day, only for the homeschooling. It was really cool. No animals, of course, more like acrobatic performers. That is so neat. And that's the thing. Our library does not do things specifically for homeschoolers, which is odd because there are a lot of homeschoolers in our district, but I would love if they would do that. Let's see. Kristen, the only library programs here are now for kids under 5. That's sad. I think that right now in our library, the story hour might only be for younger kids like that, but the rest of the activities, a lot of them are for like grades 5th and below, but they do have them for like middle schoolers and high schoolers also. Let me see. Tachi said that you like that they put the books on hold. Yeah, me too. I like to just go on the computer and put down which books I need. I go there and they're right there at the desk. They used to make us pay 50 cents for each hold. They did away with that, and I'm so glad because now I can reserve so many other things. Let me see. Just going to see. Crystal, we love our library story time. My 4-year-old really likes it, and my 6-year-old does, but is starting to get a little bored with it. Yeah, and they do. They just get to that point where they might not be too interested, especially depending on what is being read also. And Kristen, the Jim Carrey one, yeah, that's what my kids wanted to watch the other day. And again, maybe it's because I'm old-fashioned. I really am. Sometimes I think I was born in the wrong time period. But yeah, I prefer the old... what is that, Boris Karloff? Is that who it was? That cartoon one. All right, Kristen said, I need the physical book. I despise ebooks. My husband is buying Emma Beast Academy, and he's insisting on the actual books. Yeah, and I know that a lot of people like ebooks because you don't have to worry about having all that room on your shelves. For me, that probably would be that I should think about because my house is really, really, really small. We have no room for anything here, but I just cannot get. Allie's Bookish Life said, we have a homeschoolers club. They meet once a month. That's so nice. Stacy Hancock, I'm so bad. I have book, movie, audio, and more. That's not bad. Okay. Crystal likes the Cartoon Grinch too. Yay for Cartoon Grinch. Yes, I agree. One clever girl said our library does a summer science program. I think that's when our library did that science I was talking about earlier. Karasu the Dreamer said nonprofits can register to have a meeting room once a month at our local library. I'm part of a Christian writers critique group, not affiliated with the library that meets there. That's nice. And you know, when I was thinking, I wonder if that's what it was with ours. But like the photography studio around us, they're not a nonprofit, and they had classes there. So I don't think that that's what it was with us. I'm just wondering, like, why? Why is it that they will let these other people do free classes? But, it's like, for some reason, like, they're very nice. The librarians themselves are very nice. But I'm just wondering if the people, like, behind the scenes, those in charge of the library, are just not very welcoming to homeschoolers there. Again, not the people that we are interacting with, because they are great. They are so, so helpful. But I really do think that it has just something to do with the fact that they're funded with the school district money. And I don't know. I think that sometimes they're really trying to help out homeschoolers as much as a lot of other libraries do. So yeah, I will say that. And again, that doesn't mean that I don't like my library, because I don't blame the people who are actually working in the building there. But there are some people behind the scenes that I really think could do much better at trying to embrace the homeschooling community, especially considering that, a lot of times it's we homeschoolers that are there using the library and not a whole lot of other people, unless they're just there, to like use a computer or to get something photocopied. So anyway, we'll see if that ever changes. All right. Yeah, Amy Miller said, sounds like your library is a little anti-homeschool. That's kind of the feeling that I got. But again, I don't want people to think that I don't like my library, because I totally depend on it. It's just, it's those, I don't know, it's those people behind the scenes who aren't actually interacting with the library patrons. They're not there to see who is at the library. They're not there to see what people are doing there, what sorts of things they're getting. So I don't know. I that's just the feeling that I get. Is it something to do with the fact that they are funded by the school district and that we do not have our kids in the school district? So maybe they're losing tax dollars because of our kids. I don't know. I don't know how that works. But anyway, that's the way that I get it. This is the feeling that I get, I should say. Our library director is Emma's friend, so we get a lot of leeway. And she implements what she can, but we're in a small village, so just not a lot of attendance. Yeah. And I do have to say that a lot of times, like at our library, you're only allowed to renew twice. So you can have a total of 9 weeks, unless if someone reserves it and you need to take it back, and can't renew it. And now a lot of the librarians are sticklers for that, but there are a few there who know that I school own them for years. I've been doing this for 10 years, so I've known them for years, and they will say, I'll put in for an extra renewal for you. So I don't know. It's just a sticky situation to be in. because I was kind of mad about the whole homeschooling class that they wouldn't allow me to do that without paying, but I didn't want to take it out on the librarians themselves. So Crystal said, I love that our library lets all ages participate in most of the programs. Most things are after. Kristen said, we are right next to Fort Niagara, so we get to do a lot of battle reenactments, and there's a cannon in the library. That is cool. My kids love that. Tachi Mitchell said, one thing I don't like about my library is a bunch of computers with games for the kids. Yeah, it's not necessary. It's hard to get my kids away from them. Yeah, see, that's the thing. When I take my kids to the library, I don't let them go on the computers there. They ask all the time. Every time that we go there, they ask if they can go on the computers. Don't let them go on the computers at the library, because that's not what we're there for. They have their tech time on the weekends. So yeah, but I do know that when we go there after school hours and there are school kids there, that's what they're doing. They're on those computers playing the games, which at least they are monitored there. The games, at least they have, software in place that is going to keep them from being able to go on certain things. So that's good. But I've seen that a lot of the school kids, that's what they go there for after school, is to just play the games on there. But yeah, my kids know. They'll ask, but they're not going to get to go on them there. Let me see. Let's see. Karasu the Dreamer said, I know this is off topic, but thanks so much for making me feel welcome on these live streams, despite me being more politically left-leaning than a lot of people interested in homeschooling. I appreciate having you here. And, I enjoy getting your perspective on things. So thank you for coming every week, almost every week. So it's exciting to have you here. Kristen says, ours has Magna tiles, engineering kits, gallons of Legos donated by the librarian from her own childhood. That's nice. And a lot of these librarians care so much about the kids, and you can tell. You really can. And Kristen said, I hang out in the middle. I'm not left nor right. Yeah, we're just a community of all walks of life that get together. And the one thing that we have in common is that we're just really, really interested in being involved with our kids' education. And that is like a thread that we can all hold on to together, right? All right. So anyway, I think I'm going to end this live stream a little bit early tonight because my throat is hurting me a little bit. But I just wanted to thank all of you for coming on here, and I hope that I offered you, or that I gave you some ideas on how you could use your library more in your homeschool rather than just using it kind of as a supplement, but literally embracing everything that they have to offer and creating an entire curriculum out of it. So I'm hoping that I gave you some ideas for that. Let me just see what Crystal said. I have that problem with the computers at the library as well. My kids wanting to be on them too much. They do puzzles and coloring as well, though. Yeah, there's like a little play area that my kids use. Amy Miller said, I would have lost my mind in the beginning without your advice. Thank you. And I have to say that when I started homeschooling, I wish I would have listened to people's advice, because I had people who were trying to help me in the beginning, and they were offering to let me come to their house, and watch them homeschool. And I just had this attitude oh no, I was kind of arrogant. I'm going to admit it. I was oh no, I was gifted, that's when stuff like that actually mattered. I thought I was gifted. I don't need help. And yeah, I could have used a lot of help because I probably would not have sent my kids back to school for 2 years if I would have listened. But anyway, let me see. Tachi Mitchell said, now I'm curious, what was the most expensive late fee you ever paid? I think $20-something, and that was because we actually lost the book. So anyway, the Allerdink said, we have a librarian who homeschools and runs a program for homeschoolers twice a month. I know that one of our librarians, they said that he homeschooled his kids, but I don't think he's there anymore. So that would have been nice to have that kind of go-between for us. But anyway, I am going to be ending the live stream right now because, again, my throat is hurting me a bit. There will not be a live stream next week, obviously, because it's Thanksgiving. But Lord willing, I will be doing a live stream in 2 weeks. And the topic for that one is actually going to be on why homeschool. And we're going to be talking about different reasons that people homeschool for. And I would love for you guys to just chime in and let me know the reasons that you decided to homeschool. And this is actually something that Lexi Blake, I don't know if she's still here, but she was actually the one who suggested that topic to me. And I thought that was great because there are a lot of people out there today who really want to look into homeschooling and I think this is something that can draw a lot of people in and help them to understand more what it's all about. So anyway, I just wanted to say have a good night, and thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you the next time.